Hello, my name is Attorney Masa Sam Foray, founder of the Foray firm with offices in Chicago and in Houston. And I am back again today to answer all of your Illinois family law matters. So today's question is, do grandparents have visitation rights in Illinois? The answer is yes, in certain circumstances. And we'll go into those circumstances in this video. I do, however, want to distinguish grandparents' visitation and what is generally known as grandparents' rights from grandparents seeking custody. If you look through my videos, I've done a separate video about the circumstances under which a grandparent or any non-biological parent can have standing to seek custody of minor children. Here, we're not talking about custody of minor children. We're not asking for decision-making. We're not asking for the residency of the minor children. We're simply asking for visitation with grandchildren. And so the answer is, in Illinois, yes, grandparents have rights, albeit very limited and restricted rights, and only if the grandparent meets a two-prong threshold. So the threshold is two-pronged. Prong number one, the child at heart in the litigation has to be at least 1 year old. So grandparents are not going to be able to get court-ordered visitation for grandchildren who are infants, who are less than 1 year old. In addition to that, one of 5 factors has to be apparent and proven in this case, at least one of 5. Factor number 1 is that one parent is either dead or has been missing for at least 3 months. Factor number 2 is that one parent is declared incompetent. Factor number 3 is that one parent has been in jail or in prison for at least 3 months. Factor number 4 is that the parents are divorced and that at least one of the parents agrees to the visitation. And factor number 5 is that the parents were never married and that this is therefore what we would refer to as a parentage case, and the parents are not living together. So that means that we have unmarried parents who are not living together in the same residence. Then if at least one of those factors is met, plus the child is at least 1 year old, then a grandparent would have grounds to seek grandparent visitation. So then the question becomes, how does the court determine what the visitation should be? Because obviously this is a discretionary type of case. And when we say discretionary, what we mean is it's really totally up to the judge. The judge can do any number of different things in fashioning a grandparent's visitation schedule. So what will the court consider? Well, the court could consider the wishes and desires of the child. So if the child is old enough to speak for him or herself, if the child is old enough to express their wishes or desires, the court could consider the wishes and desires of the minor child to have access to his or her grandparents. The court could also consider the good faith demonstrated by the grandparents in asking for the visitation schedule. So good faith would be if the grandparents can document reasonable efforts. Maybe they went by the house several times. Maybe they have sent several messages, several emails, called, and left a bunch of voicemails requesting an opportunity to simply see their grandchildren. If that was done in good faith and not necessarily in a harassing or threatening way, then the court would find that that good faith request should be met with some sort of relief. In addition to that, the court is also going to consider how much grandparent visitation the grandparent is actually requesting. So again, the goal here is to show reasonableness and to show that you are acting in good faith. As a grandparent, it would be very hard for you to make the case to the court that you're acting in good faith if you're demanding to see your grandchildren 5 nights out of the week. That would be unfair. That would actually be you asking to do a backdoor route into becoming the residential parent. So don't go that way. If you know that you are simply entitled to grandparents' visitation, ask for a reasonable schedule. And reasonable, of course, is something that can be determined and discussed with your family law attorney so that you can craft the best possible solution and propose settlement to the other side, and then make your case for the schedule that you're seeking to the judge. And then lastly, the courts will also consider the prior relationship and connection and bond between the grandparents and the minor children. And that can cut both ways. So if we have a young grandchild who, say, is 1 or 2 years old, and the grandparents have not had an opportunity to see the grandchild, they've had very restricted access to the grandchild, well, then establishing that to the court would probably go a long ways in helping a court understand why it's necessary for you to have the intervention of the court in order to establish that relationship and that bond with your grandchild. But then on the other side of the coin, if we have a 13 or a 14-year-old who used to live with you, perhaps your adult child lived with you for some period of, your grandchildren's lives, well, then at that point in time, of course, it would be inequitable for grandchildren who are closely bonded to you because they were in very close contact and close proximity to you for, a portion of their life, to then be ripped out of your life and for you to have no access to them whatsoever. A court would generally be empathetic to that sort of a situation. So grandparents' visitation is pretty tricky. It's not granted in every situation. In fact, many grandparents, unfortunately, are left in a position where they're really going to have to depend upon the goodwill of their own children in the litigation to just agree to some sort of a schedule. But if you are a grandparent and you meet the requirements that I described in this video, then you absolutely do have rights in the state of Illinois. Please contact a trusted family law attorney and consult with them about how you can move forward in your case. I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.